Webinars are not dead, my friend. They are alive and well. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you exactly why your coaching business, your health business will greatly benefit from having one and how to do it properly. Hey guys, Uriel King, your CEO and founder of Healthpreneur, and we help health practitioners and coaches build scalable businesses online and offline. And for the past 20 years, I've been using webinars to build, first and foremost, my own multiple seven-figure online health business that I ultimately sold about 8 years ago. And then because of the amount of success I had with webinars, when I started Healthpreneur in 2017, I said, if there's one thing I can do really, really well, what would that be? It's webinars. And we used what I'm about to share with you today to go from zero to $1 million in 7 weeks. And since then, multiple 8 figures, and we've helped thousands of our clients use one content asset, a webinar, an evergreen webinar, to build 6, 7, and even 8-figure businesses online. So if that's of interest to you, then I'm going to show you exactly what you need to know today. Now, let's talk about why webinars are more important than ever before. Okay, so everyone's talking about attention spans. People don't have, like dopamines all over the place. Everyone's used to shorts and reels and 5-second attention spans here and there. And that's exactly the reason having a webinar is more important than ever before. Now, before I go any further, when I talk about a webinar for the rest of this video, please understand what I'm talking about is an evergreen, recorded once webinar that lives on a page that people can watch 24/7. Okay, so it's not like a live webinar you're doing, and I'm going to talk specifically in a moment about why live webinars are a complete waste of time and why evergreen automated webinars are the way to go. And just to keep it simple, you don't even need to use fancy automations. When I'm talking about an evergreen webinar, I'm talking about people land on an opt-in page, they put their name and email in, optionally phone number, they go to the next page and the video of the webinar is there. It's not like which session do you want to sign up for, Thursday at 2 o'clock or Thursday at 8 o'clock. You can play that game if you want to, you don't need to. We used to do that, and we moved away from that many, many years ago because we realized it actually didn't make much of a difference. So if you want to think of another word for an evergreen webinar, think of it as a VSL, a video sales letter, if that makes your life a bit easier. So why live webinars I'm not a huge fan of anymore is live webinars, the show-up rates are horrible. And the nail in the coffin happened for me when I was just about to kind of on the tail end of my last business. We did a live webinar. We had 2,000 people register for free, and less than 100, I think it was about 120 of those people actually showed up live. And when you look at the show-up rates, it's just atrocious. And I was starting to notice that over and over and over again. And I did a live webinar again, I think 2 more times when I was within the Healthpreneur container, and it was the same thing. So I'm not going to talk about what we do instead of live webinars nowadays, because there is an option outside of that. But for this, I'm talking about if you're taking a webinar, putting it into an evergreen, ongoing 24/7 format, you record once and people watch, because now people watch it right away. They don't have to wait around. It's like live in the sense of they can watch it on demand. So with that out of the way, why webinars are so important nowadays is because of the fact that people have less focus, their attention spans are arguably lower. And if you want committed clients, you have to get people jumping through hoops. Like if you've watched any of my videos, this is something I will die on. Like this is a state that I will literally die on. If you want more committed clients, you need your marketing to be more committed. The Marines have a saying, if you want the most, make it easy. If you want the best, make it hard. So a webinar that is 30, 45, 60 minutes, right? It doesn't matter how long the webinar is, right? All that matters is how long does it need to be in order to do what it needs to do. So we have had webinars with this business that have been up to 1 hour and 35 minutes. We currently use one that's a lot shorter, and we've used everything in between. And we have clients that run webinars that are anywhere from 20 to 75 minutes. So it's not the time that matters, it's how it's structured, the messaging, and ultimately the offer you're making in the webinar. So what we want is we want committed clients, right? We're not selling widgets for the sake of this video, okay? So you're not using, in the context of here, there are webinars that can obviously sell a product, that's fine. But what I'm talking about is selling coaching, high ticket. So if you want people who are going to spend $2,000, $4,000, $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 with you, you got to get them to drink your Kool-Aid, right? The more people spend time with you, the more money they will spend with you. Please understand that. Time on brand is very important. So you can understand why someone who opts in to download a one-page cheat sheet is in no way, shape, or form the same level of quality or commitment as someone who watches a 60-minute presentation. Does that make sense? Hope it does. That's the fundamental understanding. That's principle number one of attracting committed clients into a high service, high ticket service or coaching business is when you want people to show up and do the work, when you want people who are committed, they have to be fully bought in as much as they can be before they show up on a call with you. So a webinar's primary function is actually not to get everyone to the end. That's not the goal. You will see a decay curve. That's guaranteed. If you have a 30-second video on Instagram, it's the same thing. You'll see a massive drop off, and that's it. If I'm being honest with you, Instagram, when I compare that to long form content, is a complete waste of time in terms of what it does to generate clients. Like, yes, we use Instagram, but it's of no surprise that the majority of our clients from organic come from YouTube, even though the 90+% of our clients actually come from ads historically. So the reason I'm all in on YouTube as an example is that it's long form content, people drink the Kool-Aid, and if they find value, eventually they'll want to work with us. The difference with a webinar is that the nature of the content is not necessarily the same as what you'll find on YouTube. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. So first thing I wanted to mention with respect to the evergreen webinar is that it gets people to spend more time on brand with you within the context of a funnel. Okay, somebody opts in, they watch, they get some kind of asset. In this case, it's a webinar. The next step from the webinar is for someone to apply to work with you or speak with you, and then they speak with you. Okay, so that's the perfect client pipeline, right? If this is the first time you're watching my videos. And this is the pipeline that we use in our business. It's what our clients use. It's generated hundreds of millions of dollars. It works even to this day. Okay, and this is important to remember. It doesn't matter how the market changes. It doesn't matter how people's attention span go down. If you are wanting committed clients, your marketing needs to ensure that people are committed through the process. If people drop off, if they don't want to watch it, good. They're not going to work with you. They're not going to take out $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 to solve a problem. It's not going to happen. So the primary objective of the webinar is get people to spend more time on brand with you, right? They have to know, like, and trust you. They have to hear your story, hear your value, what you provide, etc., how you see the world differently than everyone else. The second thing that a webinar's very, very important job is to do is, as I alluded to, is to weed out unqualified people. So the decay curve we mentioned a moment ago, that's great. If 100 people opt in to watch your webinar, you're never going to see 100 people at the end. And you don't want that. You want 10 people, 5 people, whatever the number is, who are fully drinking the Kool-Aid by that time. They're like, you know what, I'm actually going to do something about this now. So you're always going to have a decay curve. And yes, you could like obsess about the little moments where you had a dip and make adjustments, but honestly, it's not even worth it. Okay. You have to look at, are the people who are showing up on a call with me the right type of people? And if they're not, then you have to look at what's being said or not said, or how easy is it for people to book a call with you through the webinar itself. Okay. Again, the goal is not to get everyone to book a call. The goal is to get the right people to book a call with you. And therefore we want people to, like, if they're like, man, I don't have time to watch this. Good. See you later. Ciao. Like, go watch some TikTok videos and have fun with your problem. That's the purpose of a webinar. We're purposely making it more challenging for people to move through the process. And I know there's different opinions on this, right? Like, different people have different perspectives. But if you want people who actually want to do something, then you have to get them to jump through hoops, right? If you want the most, make it easy. If you want the best, make it hard. I'm not making this up. That's the US Marine Corps, okay? They're obviously a special breed. So if you want committed clients, this is what you have to have. And that's why I say it's the only piece of content you need in your business. So third thing about having an evergreen webinar is that, so we talk about time on brand, we talk about the fact that it filters people out. And if you're watching this and you're a busy health practitioner or a coach who doesn't have all day to just live on your computer, on your phone, then the webinar does a very important job of protecting your time. That's the one thing you can never make more of. You can always make more money, right? But you can never make more time. So we had a client, Brandy, who's a naturopath. She was working 60 hours a week. And when she came to work with us in our HBA coaching program, we helped build out her perfect client pipeline, her webinar, etc. And she was able to move pretty much online almost exclusively after 2 months. And she went from like ground zero to $27,000 a month. So she was doing about 15 to 20 calls a week. And then about a year later, she was able to like get out of the practice. She traveled across the country with her son and her husband, and she had an amazing, experience. And then she got to a point where she's like, you know what? I actually I don't want to have all these calls. And so what she started doing in her webinar process was she started actually adding more filters and more things to get people to just being very clear about people. Like, here's like, if you're not willing to invest 4 figures in your health, don't even bother taking the next step. So she started layering all these elements of friction, which have to be done very judiciously based on data, not feelings. And obviously we helped her through this. And she got to the point about a year later where she was taking 3 to 4 calls per week, but 75% of those calls she was closing. So this is why having a webinar is so valuable, is that if you don't want to have anyone just jump on your calendar, a webinar protects it. What I see so much of in this space is, somebody's Instagram profile or their website, it'll have a link or a button to book a free discovery call. I'm like, oh my God, like, why don't you just leave the front door to your house open? The one thing you have none of, which is time already, you're allowing people to just take it on your calendar. And you don't know who these people are. You don't know if they've done any work in terms of figuring out who you are, what you do. Maybe they've kind of, looked around and piecemealed some stuff together, but there's no cohesive message that they have seen leading up to the call. And so you might get on Zoom or on a call people that are, number one, if they show, right? If it's a free call, then you're going to have a no-show rate that's going to be pretty high. You're going to have people that, if they do show up, are not going to be fully bought into what you do. They're like, yeah, I saw something of yours on wherever. I figured, let's have a chat. They don't really know enough about you. And so you're going to waste your time over explaining yourself about how you're different, how your philosophy is unique, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what a webinar does is it protects your calendar by getting people to jump through hoops before they can even see the calendar. And what that means is you're talking to people who are already drinking the Kool-Aid, who when they do book a call with you, if they're qualified, they understand your philosophy, they understand how you're different, they understand your proprietary process, the mechanism you use to create results for your clients. And therefore, when they get on a call with you, they're already pre-sold. They're pre-qualified, they're pre-sold. You've done your best to remove people who are not serious about this, or they're not financially in a position to invest in their health. And that means you're speaking to people who are largely more qualified. Now, if you are having calls, even with a webinar in place, where you're getting people that are still unqualified, it's not that the webinar doesn't work. It's the fact that your messaging was not clear enough. So one of the things that we see initially with some of our clients in HBA, so they launch their perfect client pipeline, which is a source of traffic, which in our case is usually social media ads, because at the push of a button, you instantly get traffic coming into your webinar, okay? So it's social media ads to a webinar that I'm talking about here, application and call, okay? That's the 1.0 version. However, now we move to a paid consult, and I'm gonna save that for a different video. But what happens here is when people show up on a call and they're not qualified, let's say they don't have any money, they're living on food stamps, they're broke, like whatever the situation is, it's not that the webinar didn't do its job. It's just you didn't do a good job being very clear about who this is not for. So in your webinar, if you're getting people showing up on your calendar who are broke, unqualified, or whatever, look at that as feedback and be like, thank you so much, market, for telling me what I'm seeing. So therefore I can readjust my messaging to no longer attract those people. So a very simple thing in your webinar is toward the end, you're going to offer, a free call, right? Or a paid consult. I'm going to save the paid consult conversation for a different video. But by the way, that's all we're doing with clients now for a very specific reason. But if you're doing free calls, you have to be very clear with people like, hey, this is not for you. If you're living on food stamps, you have no income, and whatever the qualifiers are. If you're not saying stuff like that, don't be surprised when people show up on a call who are living on food stamps and broke and don't have any teeth. You have to be very, very clear with people. Like in our business, I make it abundantly clear, and just in case you're wondering, like what it's like, can I work with you guys? I don't know. At a minimum, you have to be making 5 to 10K per month. If you're not making that, we're not working with you, okay? You can enjoy all the content you want on our YouTube channel, but unless you're consistently at that level, you will never be working with us. I can promise you that. Okay. And that's not me being a dick. That's me being about like knowing who I can and cannot help at the highest possible level, right? Now, naturally, the more money you make, the faster the results we can get with our clients because there's more foundation, there's more assets, etc. So in my webinar or in any of my messaging, if I'm not abundantly clear about this, if I'm not saying like, this is not for you, if you're pre-revenue, if you've never worked with paying clients, if you're just getting started, this in no way, shape, or form is for you. Hope you've enjoyed the information and I wish you all the best, but do not proceed to book a call because we will cancel it. Like to that level of granularity, okay? Now in our case, it's more B2B, okay? But I'm not gonna say like, from a health perspective, if you're not making $60,000 a year, you can't book a call. But you have to find a way to be very clear with people about who it's for and who it's not for. With that said, though, you have to initially, my recommendation is initially building your marketing, your webinar in this case, for flow before you add friction. Because the beautiful part of what actually speaking to people on Zoom or on a phone call is you get to hear what they're saying and you get to see who's showing up. And that is immensely valuable feedback. That's the type of feedback that internet marketers would die for. But what they do is they go do Reddit forum research and they look at Amazon reviews to see what people are saying. You get to actually speak with people and they'll tell you what's going on. So if you're, let's say you book 10 calls and those 10 calls are people who show up late, they're broke, they're retired, or whatever the things are. That's all feedback to tell you what you're seeing in life is a mirror of what you're putting out there, right? Really simply, metaphysically, but also in your marketing. Your marketing is like a boomerang. You're putting something out and it's pulling people in. So if you're getting 10 calls booked and those people are not qualified, don't say, this doesn't work. No. Your messaging basically is not clear. But that's okay, because initially we want to build for flow. You want to get people in so you get the feedback. Because if you put too many barriers to entry on the front end, you're not going to get no one booking a call with you. So we want to get those calls to see what's coming in. And then we start to adjust. We're like, okay, cool. I'm noticing that these women are 75 years old, but my target audience should be 30 to 45. Okay, let me look at what's happening on the ad front. Let me be very clear in my webinar about who this is for, etc. So that feedback is immensely valuable, because then you take that and you tweak your messaging ahead of the webinar, on the registration page, in the webinar itself. And over time, as you start to layer in a little bit more of this friction, you start to get a better caliber of person showing up on a call with you. So the webinar for a busy health professional is the most important piece of content. Like, I want you to be very clear about this. Like, you don't have to create any other content. Like, here's what the business looks like if you're working with us. Let's say that you're amazing at what you do, and you have an Instagram account that you never post on. It has 100 followers. You have no YouTube channel. You have no podcast. No one knows you exist. I don't give a shit. I don't care. The only thing that I look for are 3 things: expertise, confidence, and drive. That's it. You have to be an absolute expert in what you do, because here's why. When we build out your perfect client pipeline, we're running ads to people who don't know you. And so you're going to get some randoms around the world who don't give a shit about you. They don't know, like, or trust you yet. And when they show up on a call with you, if their spidey senses pick up that you're not an expert, that you're not the best in the world at what you do, there is no way in hell they're giving you money. I can guarantee you that. And this is why when I say I'm not working with anyone who's not at 5 to 10K per month, because that revenue level is indicative of the fact that you've worked with clients, so you have some track record, or you have experience. Now, obviously, we want people to be, further ahead of that, but as a baseline. Because if you have no online assets, the only other way you're going to do this is by creating and posting a lot of content, and that's fine. It just takes a long time. So when our clients come to us in HBA to build out their online coaching business, what we're looking for is expertise, because the expertise is the foundation to move people who never knew you existed into potentially paying you within a couple of hours or a few short days. Right? When I started Healthpreneur, I had no audience. I had no following. I had no email list. I had nothing. Most people didn't even know I existed, even though I've been online since 2005. I'm a New York Times bestselling author. I've been on Dr. Oz, The Doctors, like all the stuff. We built a huge business. I had a blog that had more than 1.4 million visitors a month, a big YouTube channel. Still, no one knew I existed. No one knows you exist, right? So it is what it is. So we have to be able to, through conviction and experience, have a conversation with someone where they're like, man, this person is the real deal. But this is also why a webinar is so valuable, because a webinar allows them to experience that before they speak with you. And what's cool is you'll see this, like, one of the biggest objections I hear all the time is like, yeah, people don't have time to watch webinars. My people are different. Your people are not different. Okay. They're all fucking humans. Okay. Our clients who are busy health professionals, there's 2 things that they've often told me as I've, started working with them. One is, I'm not the type of person who watches webinars, but I watched yours 3 times, right? I hear that all the time. Or, I don't know how you got into my head, but there you were. And that comes from a level of deep expertise of understanding exactly what they're going through, because I was in their shoes many, many years ago. And so when you have that level of expertise, I'm telling you, you don't need the content circus Okay, if you want to play that game, by all means, it can certainly help build your brand over time. I'm a huge proponent of content. There's a reason I have this YouTube channel, but please understand, I did nothing other than our perfect client pipeline. And the only piece of content in there was our webinar. We had ads running on Meta or Facebook at the time. And we built a multiple seven-figure business on that alone. And it's grown since then. Now, yes, after 3.5 years, we started, putting out content on Instagram and YouTube and our podcast. But that's because we have a big vision of helping 1 billion people. We want to be a very, very, very well-known household name to transform health in this world. But please understand, you have to understand, your chapter 1 is not my chapter 20. So please don't compare what I'm doing to what you're thinking of doing. And I've spoken with myself and our team. We spoke with tens of thousands of health practitioners and coaches. And man, they're just so backwards in terms of how they're approaching business. And it's not their fault, right? It's not your fault. It's you're only doing what you think you need to do based on whatever information has been given to you. But I'm telling you, our clients come to us, and as long as they're an expert, we're like, cool, we're going to get messaging dialed in. We're going to put ads up on Meta starting at about $50 a day. Those ads drive people to opt in to watch your webinar, which is recorded once. It works for you 24/7. It's like a TEDx talk that's speaking to thousands of people and you're not even there. And then the right people take the next step to book a call to you. And you just track your numbers, and when things work, they go crazy. And this is how our clients are able to go from 5 to 10K per month to 30, 50, 100K. And so we have, clients that are doing more than $1 million a month because they have this scalable system. And most of them don't do anything on social media from a manual posting perspective. And if they want to, they have all the right to do so. But this is the power. When I say there's only one content asset you need, it's a webinar. It's the one thing everyone goes into. So if I'm having a conversation in the DMs with someone and they're like, yeah, I'm looking to scale my business, and I'll ask them 1 or 2 questions to get a sense of where they're at. And then I'll ask a question like, hey, have you seen how we help clients in your shoes scale their business? And they're like, no. So what am I going to do? Explain it into the DMs? Oh, we'll do this. I'm like, fuck that. No. Cool. Can I share a quick video with you that explains everything? And if you qualify, you can take the next step with us. And they're like, sure. So I send them the video, the webinar, they watch it, and then guess what happens? Am I going to chase them? Did you watch it? Did you want to book a call? No. They watch it, and if it makes sense and they're serious, they'll take the next step. If you're a solo operator, I'm telling you, if you're having DM conversations that are going back and forth for 1 million times, it's a complete waste of time. In 2 back and forth messages, I know if someone's serious or not, right? I'll ask hey, what's the vision for your business? And they're like, I haven't thought about it. I'm like, cool, I'm never speaking to you again. Ciao, right? Whereas if they know what they want in their business, then it's cool. Are you looking to scale, or are you looking for the free content? Free content, ciao. If you're looking to scale, cool. How's your business currently doing? Awesome. What type of clients do you work with? Great. I'm looking to see if they meet our basic requirements. And I'm like, hey, do you know how we help clients in your shoes scale your business online? They're like, no. Cool. Do you mind if I send you a quick video that's going to walk you through everything? And if it makes sense, we can take the next step from there. Yes, cool. I send the video. And then one of 2 things happen. They watch it and they do something. And then other people will be like, hey, did you have a chance? What did you think of it? And they're like, oh, I haven't gotten around to it. 3 days later. I'm like, dude, that's why you're struggling in business. You don't have time to watch a 30-minute video or whatever the length of time is. And that tells me everything I need to know about your situation. But I'm so busy. Exactly. And you will never not be busy if you keep doing what you're doing. So do you understand how this webinar is all roads lead into the webinar? Everything, it saves your time. It saves your voice. You're not having to explain yourself 1,000 times. The webinar, it's like your TEDx talk, right? And there's a very specific way of putting a webinar together. If you're interested in this, I'm actually hosting a live workshop this weekend. Well, depending on when you're watching this, it might be a replay at this point, or maybe not even available. But if you want to work with me live for 2 hours to workshop what I call a webinar that works, which basically means having a webinar that actually works, that doesn't just teach shit and give everything away and then people do nothing. If you want a webinar in your business, if you're a health professional or coach who's ready to scale, and again, you're making at least 5 to 10K per month, otherwise you're not coming to this workshop, just to be very clear, because I know who I can and cannot help. But if that's you and you want help crafting out your webinar, doing it properly, and knowing exactly the nuances of how to get everything structured properly based on our proven frameworks and templates, exact scripts on how to say what to say at different points of the webinar, there's probably a link in the description. You can learn more about it. You can grab a spot if it hasn't been conducted yet. If there's a replay, I don't even know in the future. But anyways, so that's where I'm going to be going deep into the trenches. We're going to roll up our sleeves and actually build out your webinar that works. So you actually have this asset in your business instead of you trying to guess about how to do this on your own. If that's of interest to you, either way, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate that. If you've enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And if you like this kind of stuff, be sure to watch the next video where I'll walk you through our $1 million health coaching roadmap. If you're a health expert, coach, or therapist who wants to grow $1 million plus business without the grind or guesswork, you're going to want to check that out. We have a free scorecard where you can audit your business, and then I'll show you exactly how to fill the gaps to improve your score and thus the impact you're creating, the money you're making, and the freedom you're living with.